Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome. This is the Dr. Will Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Will, and we are here tonight talking about Teach Small, and we are here with Jordan Pedraza. Jordan, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing quite well. Thanks for asking. So, for the folks who are watching and may not know who you are, will you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Pedraza, and I lead community and growth at Remind in San Francisco, California. And Remind is a messaging app for teachers or school leaders to communicate with their students, parents, or other colleagues through mobile messaging or text messaging.
Oh,
And
all right.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh, that's a brief intro. I was just going to say, before Remind, I was with the Google for Education team, also leading community. So yeah, I'm very passionate about education technology and supporting everyone who seeks to use it to explore new learning models and ways of creativity and collaboration, and particularly in a community kind of manner.
Awesome, awesome. So, I guess you briefly touched upon this, but for those who are watching and they don't know what Remind is, would you please describe it and how teachers and schools can communicate with parents?
Absolutely. So Remind is the name of our product, and essentially it's a way for teachers really to create groups to communicate with really easily. So let's say you're a teacher, and what you can do is visit remind.com or install the Remind app on iPhone or Android. And essentially, it walks you through creating your classes. And the classes are what you'll use to create the groups of people you want to communicate with. So you can create a class for all your students in a particular class, or all your parents for a particular class, or maybe all of them together. It's really up to you. And then when you send out messages, you're able to send out reminders, announcements, share resources, links. You're able to chat with people either one-to-one or in a group setting with up to 10. And it's just a really way to streamline your communication, so then everyone's on the same page. You're opening up the doors of your classroom and lines of communication with you as the teacher. And for students or parents that subscribe to your class, we give them a lot of choices in how they want to receive your messages. So that's what's really powerful about the tool, is that it's pretty simple and geared towards teachers, but we also offer flexibility, for those depending on what kind of access they have to technology. So for example, you can subscribe to a class through the mobile app. So students and parents can install it on their phones too and get messages that way. They can subscribe via email updates if they prefer to see messages that way. Or the most popular feature is receiving them through text messages. So we see that in the US and around the world, most folks have at least a regular cell phone right now, if not a smartphone. And what's really nice about receiving text messages through this app is, even if you don't have a computer at home or internet access, if you have some sort of phone, you can still get updates from your teachers and still be in the loop and still chat with them too. So we're really popular in kind of community settings for a classroom, sharing updates with parents, reminding students of different things going on, and then also principals and school leaders using Remind to share announcements school-wide with everyone, students, parents, staff, what have you.
Cool, cool. So let's get started. Okay, what is the Teach Small movement and where did the idea come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Teach Small basically means it's celebrating all the small things that may go unnoticed, but they make a huge impact. So we know that teachers, when it comes back to school time, there's a lot going on. There's lesson plans, back to school nights, parent conferences, professional development sessions. There's a lot going on, and that can be overwhelming. So we wanted to call attention to the smaller things that don't require a big monumental shift or change anything, but it's more reinforcing and celebrating those small things. High fives, words of encouragement, a smile, a thumbs up, sticky notes, like all these little just bite-sized things that really build strong relationships between teachers and students, or teachers and parents, or with each other, and just kind of celebrate and recognize that, hey, these small moments matter too. So we celebrate all those that teach small out there, and we want to make sure that we continue to remember. That's why we came into this profession in the first place, so we can build those, strong, meaningful relationships, and that can be a foundation for learning and success and a stronger sense of community. Now, the idea came from an agency we were working with earlier this year. It's called Instrument, and they're based in Portland, Oregon. And we've been working closely with them way earlier, back in 2015. And we were talking about how, back to school, it's always a very busy and noisy time. There's definitely opportunities to release new products and features, and we know there's a lot of great stuff coming out. But we've definitely seen from teachers and heard from them that it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff out there to digest and, figure out what's that new thing you want to try this year. So instead we thought, let's take a step back and really listen to teachers, and let's elevate them. Instead of throwing something new at them, let's celebrate where they already are. Let's celebrate those small, unnoticed, unappreciated things that they do that we think really make a difference. So that's kind of the origins of Teachsmall. And, we definitely considered other phrases and words, but we wanted something to still feel empowering and actionable. That's the word teach, because that's what a lot of us do, even if we're students or parents or leaders. But then small, to keep it actionable and realistic, and, just not as overwhelming as all the other stuff that's thrown out with you. So yeah, we made a little video to kind of celebrate these Teachsmall moments. You can all check it out at remind.com/teachsmall, or just search the Teachsmall hashtag. And then we also included lots of stories from our community members on how they teach small and what it means to them. So we're seeing tons of great examples and just really inspiring ideas in how we can all teach small with each other.
Mm-hmm. In preparing for this podcast, I looked over the hashtag and saw a lot of the stories and things that teachers were sharing. In that, what does Remind hope to accomplish with Teachsmall?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we have 4 main values here at Remind that guide everything we do. So the first is teacher obsession. That's boldly printed on our wall in our offices in San Francisco. We have it on our website. And we try to embody that in everything we do, from the product we build, the support we provide, the community programs we provide, and the experience we provide. So this is really, the biggest goal for us with this message. We want to be seen as really hearing and valuing and supporting teachers. That's what we're all here for. Whether someone's an engineer or community manager or design, whatever we all do, we are here for teachers, and this is what this campaign is about. It's kind of a message to them saying, hey, we support you, we recognize you, we think you're amazing, you're a hero, and especially all those small things you do. They may not always be noticed, we may not always remember them, but we want to point attention to that this back to school, and hope that you feel valued and supported and celebrated, and we're here for you.
Okay, so what are some of the examples teachers have shared about teaching small, and how are teachers using Remind to teach small?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been really exciting to talk to so many people in the community about this phrase. I have to admit, when we first kind of introduced it with some folks, it took a minute to register. Like, oh, that sounds a little odd, or not quite sure what that means. And then as we explained the concept and the rationale behind it, then a light went off. And then people would share their own Teach Small moments when they were students, and then of course what they do currently as teachers, and how principals can lead small, and then how can Remind teach or lead small with their community. So it's really blossomed into a beautiful thing. Some themes and I've seen so far, it starts with relationships, and that's the first step in establishing trust and rapport, and just building that tie so that we can really learn together and support each other and kind of go forward. So, some examples for back to school, we've seen a lot of teachers and principals make little welcome back signs. You got this, you rock, you're amazing, let's celebrate, back to school. So kind of just starting off on a positive note, but in a more personalized human way. And doing that with both students and parents. So especially at parents, back to school night also for them. Making sure, you greet them with a smile. You genuinely try to get to know as many names as you can. Maybe you won't remember everyone right away the first day, but just taking that time to get to know people outside of the classroom too. And then later on figuring out, I know that my student loves, this type of literature, or, he loves painting, or she loves Legos, or whatever it may be, and nurturing that, cheering them on at other activities outside of the classroom. So to build that relationship first. And then, Remind is great for that initial introduction, especially if you have a lot of students and parents. That's a lot of people. So one way that's really helpful with Remind is, introducing yourself and opening up a line of communication. So you can build those relationships and then have that channel for sharing and collaboration and support. So a big way we've seen examples of Teaching Small is sharing updates throughout the day with parents. Hey, this is what the kids are doing today. They're working on this great project, or, here's a field trip we're going on together. Or celebrating those successes, even if they're small wins. And then parents feel more included and engaged, and they get to see, what their, children are up to, and then it fosters more dialogue between the students and parents too. So it kind of really, it builds a whole community of support. And then, another interesting theme I've seen lately is, so there's a lot of talk on relationships and kind of really being there for each other, listening and supporting and nudging and encouraging. But also Teach Small can be almost a way to, it can be a learning tool. It can be a way for instruction, from a pedagogical perspective. So some examples we've seen with chat, the chat feature in Remind is really huge for that. We've seen teachers talk about how we can get our students to study without them even realizing it. One example is my favorite. There's a human anatomy teacher, and for homework, she would send out like some concepts or vocabulary words, and then the students would have to chat back with pictures. Okay, what does this scientific term mean? And then let me send back a picture of what that is. And this was done outside of classroom hours. So students are engaged, they're reinforcing what was learned during the day, and then teachers can all do it from the palm of their hand, or going on computer, whatever they prefer. But it's bite-sized, kind of chunking up the assignment, doing more real-time assessments, both formatively or collectively, and making it fun and engaging, but still personalized. Having the student have to reply back and think this through. Okay, yeah, let me find an example of that. We've seen that with scavenger hunts too. There's I think a biology or chemistry teacher, definitely in science. He's using Remind as kind of a scavenger hunt tool. So if they're covering the periodical elements, find me an example of this mineral, and chat it back to me as a picture. So Teach Small is starting to expand. It's not just about building relationships and making sure we're really celebrating and encouraging and motivating everyone, but also as a tool, as a learning model for us to consider. Instead of throwing a really big kind of project or concept or a lot of material at once, what can we do to deliver it in small ways, in more personal, engaging, bite-sized ways that maybe will help it stick.
Those are a lot of things that you talked about that I really dig, and I'm going to take back to the district tomorrow. As we know, teachers have a lot on their plates. What tips do you have for them to teach small?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is why I think we're so excited about this movement. The origins of Remind was really to make teachers' lives easier, to help them save time. Just coordinating and communicating those basic things like remember there's a test tomorrow, remember to bring your permission slip tomorrow, remember, we're having this event tomorrow. So that already just helping to save teachers precious time because we know it's certainly limited. But at the same time, with Teachsmall, especially more on the relationship aspect, yeah, we do recognize that takes time too, but that's an investment. One recurring theme that I've seen that's really powerful is when teachers reflect on their experiences as a student, and then now that they have new relationships with current students, they realize it's not so much about the content and the curriculum. It's about the relationships and the moments and the context in which it all happens. That's what we remember. That's what will stick with us, 5, 10, 20, 50 years outside of the classroom. And we all have those moments with teachers that will always stick with us. And then that's what allows us to take risks, to feel supported, to keep going even when it's really hard, when you face challenges or you don't know the answer, how to solve it. Usually when you have someone to kind of be your champion and your advocate and encourage you to keep going, be there if you need help, that's what really matters. And both in the context of learning and not, we're all humans and we have to realize that learning is a very social thing. So I think with teachers, it's one step at a time. As we say, teach small, start small. You can have a lot of ideas. There's a lot of, again, temptation to try something big, but you don't have to start big, start small. Even if it's just, we've heard, my favorite example is what's one thing I can do per day? I'm going to make it a point to try to get to know someone on a personal level every day. Just one per day, one student, one parent, what have you. Or, what I try to do is, what can I do every week to celebrate our community? Even if it's something small, like someone posted a question about the chat feature on, a community forum. I want to call that out. Like, thank you for helping them out. That's the whole point of all this. So yeah, I would say start thinking about what can you do today? And even if it takes that extra, 2 or 3 minutes, or, takes you a minute to kind of think of, what could I do here? I think it's worth it. When we reflect on what made the biggest impact on our lives and, our learning, it's when we felt cared for and valued and supported. And then especially with, students or parents or others that are even more reluctant. We've had some good conversations on strategies to address that. Maybe that first time doesn't quite work. They still don't get it. They don't feel connected to you. They don't feel supported, whatever it is. I've been really inspired and encouraged by teachers saying that means you got to persist. Don't give up. They need it even more. So, okay, not today, try again tomorrow. Maybe it's a different format. And that's what's really exciting about, tools like Remind. And it could be any other tool, but, for some people, it's that face-to-face interaction that goes a long way. For others, maybe they're shy, maybe they're really busy, maybe parents, they're not able to come to back to school night or conferences. But then what can I send to them, at least where they can be reached on their phone? So at least they don't feel left out. They still feel included. And to keep persisting. Don't give up. And just find out, where is someone coming from? What do they need? Even asking them, what do you need? How are you doing? How can I support you? And then working backwards and tailoring to that. So those are some small things that we've seen others share that we think is pretty exciting.
Okay, so now before we go, I want to ask you, what is your personal Teachsmall moment?
Oh man. So we've been a part of a lot of online, events and Twitter chats lately to talk about this topic. So there's been quite a few actually for me. And but let's see. I have to pick probably from 3 moments in my journey so far. So for one, in elementary school, and I think there's interesting how we can teach small with different audiences, along their journeys. In my experience in elementary school, it was actually my principal who really made a huge impact on me. She was tough, Linda Lucas at Peter Pan Academy. She was serious. She took education seriously. She had high expectations for us. She was definitely, a really a force to be reckoned with. But that just made me want to do better. That made me want to be on my A game. Like, all right, like I'm meeting with Linda today. Like I got to be on top of it. I got to look good. I got to tell her what I'm working on. Like, I want to behave well, and there's that fine line, I'm sure there's debates on, how strict or how, how high can expectations be. But I appreciated that, she had high expectations for us. And even when we made mistakes, when we were in third grade or, said things we shouldn't have, done things we shouldn't have, she would have us come to her office and we'd talk about it. And I think that always stuck with me. There's someone that they believe in you and they want to support you, and they're not going to let you. So I think was really exciting. My music teacher, Joe Samil, he really brought his full self to the classroom every day, and it was fun. That was my musical theater class was my most favorite class to look forward to. I knew he would make us laugh. I knew he would make mistakes. I knew he would be silly. I knew he would be vulnerable with us, and I knew he would challenge us too. I remember I was rehearsing for a song in West Side Story for a spring musical, and I was going through a certain part, and then he stopped. He's like, "Jordan, this is Leonard Bernstein, not Mariah Carey." And I just started cracking up, but then I got it. I got the feedback I needed right away, and it was done in a very human and personalized way. So he always just knew how to be himself and use that as a tool to help him teach even better with us, even if it was just small phrases like that. So those always stick with me. And then the third I would say is one of my professors from college, Professor Hung Tai. I always loved, there was such a range of all the Teach Smallest moments we had. His notes on my papers definitely stood out to me. One on my first paper in Introduction to Sociology, he wrote, "You would make a great sociologist one day." And wow, that carried a lot of weight to me because, I was still barely finding my way, my first sociology class, first big college paper. So that meant a lot. But then also over time, as he traveled around the world, as I did different projects and programs outside of our college, we still stayed in touch. We interacted on Facebook quite a bit, actually, with each other. And he would message me from time to time. "Hey, how's it going in North Carolina? Oh, tell me what your challenges are, what you're struggling with. How can I help? Oh, I should connect you with this professor. I think, you'd appreciate meeting with them." So he made the point to still, connect with me and keep encouraging me no matter where he was in the world. So those are kind of three big ones that stick out to me. And yeah, I'm really grateful for. They've all made me who I am today. And again, I learned some great content and they were great teachers in their own right, but more importantly for me, it was the context in which they did it. I always felt cared for, encouraged, supported, and it felt human.
Awesome. Folks, did you enjoy yourselves tonight? I had a great time. Thanks for watching. I thank you, Jordan, for being here today. Folks, as always, on the blog, you'll see the information to be able to get in contact with Jordan on Twitter and be able to join the Teach Small movement. And again, I thank you folks for watching. And as always, people, be you, EDU, peace.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.